Good morning, everyone. So I welcome you again to today's session. And before I begin with what we are going to learn today, so let's quickly kind of recap what we learned yesterday. Yes, what did we learn yesterday? The major differences between poetry, prose and drama. That is in my session, right? Under the topic or heading, text structure and craft. And in Gideon's curricular session, you learned about other, you can say, form, right, of expository writing, and then the structure and the importance as well. So I just, in a way, hope that you all remember what are the major differences between poetry, prose and drama. What are the elements of a poetry, what are the elements of a prose, and what are the elements of a drama. So how are you going to identify whether the written piece that is in front of you is a piece of poetry, a piece of prose, or a piece of drama, right? I told you to, in a way, when you read something, just looking at the structural elements, right? If you find lines, like this line breaks, and then grouped into a stanza, right? And then two stanzas separated by line space. And then if you find, most of the case you find rhyme, isn't it? And if you find a sort of rhythm, the beat, okay, in this, that is the sound flow, right? The flow of sound. So that is a piece of poetry. Okay, whereas a prose is, you can say, a kind of ordinary form of writing with not much of a metrical structure or decoration, unlike poetry, right? In prose, sentences make paragraph, okay, and like there are chapters, okay. So prose can be narrative as well as expository, and then you have like different types of narratives, different types of expository, right? And then in drama, what did we learn? That like in poetry, it is formed of lines and stanzas, prose form of sentences and paragraphs. Drama is formed of acts and scenes, right? In act we have scenes, right? Like scenes are like the chapters in a prose. And then I told you that we have dialogues, isn't it? And then the name of the character is written in bold on the left hand side, and then there is a colon between the dialogue of the actor or the character and the name of the character. We use a colon. And what else did I tell you? I told you that the stage directions, right, is written in italic or put in bracket. And this is something the characters or the actor of the drama will not deliver, but they will follow, because these are the instruction in a way, it's the directions given. So they have to follow, right? And told you in a way that, see, the purpose, right? The common purpose between poetry, prose and drama is to entertain, right? And then you have to inform. So it may be to persuade. Okay, there can be many reasons. So this is just to quickly help you recap what we learned yesterday in my session. Okay, so what we are going to do today is, you can see on the board what is written there, active listening. Okay, not just listening, but active listening. Okay, now see, assume like in your class, what happens sometimes when your teacher is teaching you something, okay, the class is going on, and then all of a sudden your teacher might tell you, Tenzin, you are not listening, right? Tenzin, pay attention, you are not listening. What do you think makes your teacher respond in this way or tell you this? What do you think? Because your teacher can figure out by looking at you whether you are listening or not. Okay, so it usually happens when we are having a conversation and when we tell the other person, you are not listening to me, the other person might say, come on, doesn't matter, I hear you, right? Hearing and listening, they are different, isn't it? Yes or no? Of course, yes, right? To hear and to listen are two different things. Okay, so Why do you think active listening is important? See, you might have heard about the saying that when you speak, right, you only speak what you know, isn't it? There's no new information that you gain, right? You only speak what you already know. But when you listen, you get more information. Your knowledge gets broadened in a way, right? You may be able to hear what the other person's point of view is, and that may help in a way broadening your own concept about something, right? You might gain new information, new insight into something. Okay, that's why it's very important to listen. Okay, so speaking, like I have been telling you, right, the 4 language skills, LSRW, that is listening, speaking, reading, writing, right? So listening becomes very important if you want to improve your spoken English. The more you listen to, your spoken English will be improved in a way, because you get to listen to so many different speakers, and then you, in a way, you will kind of absorb what the different strategies they are adopting or applying when they are speaking, and you get to know the pronunciation of the words, you know how you can say the speaker modulates his or her voice. Okay, so listening is very important if you want to improve, or you can say if you want to gain more information about something, you need to listen. But listening, only listening will not help. Active listening. Okay, so we will look at the different aspects of listening, right? What are the barriers to, you can say, active listening? Okay, what, like usually it happens, like if we just talk in general terms, sometimes you may be having conversation, or your friend also wants to tell you something. If you don't listen, your friend gets hurt, isn't it? So there is some sort of, you can say, issues as well, right? So like the way you want yourself to be treated, you have to treat the other person in the same way, isn't it? Right? So responding to the other person, doing active listening is very, very important. Okay, so we will look at the different aspects, how you can improve your active listening skill, what are the barriers. Okay, so we will look at that. Okay, get the slide. Okay, so what is active listening? Right, we know what listening is, right, and we know the difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is not something that is, like you can say, purposeful, right? You don't make an attempt to listen, but you hear. Okay, there's no voluntary involvement. Okay, so listening, you try to, right? You have in a way voluntarily involve yourself to what the other person is saying, but then just listening is not okay. Okay, what is active listening? So it is a soft skill. Okay, like you have problem solving skill, critical thinking, these are all soft skills, isn't it? So active listening is also a soft skill, and this is essential for clear and comfortable communication, which requires practice. Okay, active listening is not something that is going to happen in just a day, okay, or 2. So you need constant practice. You need to do that. Okay, it means, so what active listening means? Okay, it means listening actively by fully concentrating on what is being said rather than just hearing. Like I told you, right, hearing and listening are 2 different things. Okay, so you have to fully concentrate on what is being said, not just hearing. Okay, it involves listening with all senses, so you have to involve your senses. Okay, so then only active listening will happen. Active listening involves both verbal as well as non-verbal communication. Okay, so if you are doing active listening, you may have to use some verbal feedback or your non-verbal communication in the form of your body language. Okay, that also becomes very important. So just quickly go through it, what actually is active listening, right? Soft skill. Active listening is a soft skill which is essential for clear and comfortable communication, right? And then you need practice for that. Okay, so you have to fully concentrate, okay, rather than just hearing. Involves listening with all senses, and then it also involves verbal as well as non-verbal communication. Okay, does that make sense? Good. Now, basic listening models. Now, you will just look at we can say 3 different models for listening. Okay, basic. One is competitive listening. These are the basic, right? Competitive listening, passive listening, active listening. Okay, so we are focusing on active listening. So, what do you think the name suggests? Active listening, passive listening, competitive listening. So, here competitive, passive, active, these are all adjectives, okay, used to qualify the noun here, listening, right? What sort of listening is this? The first one is competitive listening, the second one is passive listening, then active listening, just to make you look at this, right? Listening models. So, competitive, passive and active. So, the word competitive, what do you think this word might mean? Competitive listening. So, the adjective used here is competitive. Okay. So, what sort of listening is this? Competitive. So, the term itself, what does this suggest? See, if I am the listener, okay, and if I am listening to someone speak, so when I am doing competitive listening, that means rather than listening to the speaker, I will in a way try to push in, jump in, interrupt, and you can say bring my point of view. Okay, so that is competitive listening. Rather than listening to the other person, you just start talking about your own issues. Okay, you just interrupt the person. Okay, and you just in a way kind of like, rather than letting the other person finish, you just jump in. You express your point of view. Okay, so this is competitive listening. Okay, then you have passive listening. Okay, passive is the opposite of active. Okay, passive listening is, see, you are listening, okay, to the other person, but you are not responding. You, like, if someone is speaking to you and then you just show a stone face, no expression, no feeling, no response, though you are listening. So, what happens is the speaker gets confused, okay, whether you have understood what the speaker has said or not. Okay. So, passive listening is, see, you are not interrupting. Okay. So, no problem, because you are not interrupting, you are not jumping in, you are not bringing in your own issues or problems, but then you are not responding as well. Okay, you are just showing a sort of, you can say, a stone face, no expression, okay, no gesture, so the speaker won't be able to connect. So, this is not a communication. Okay, so passive listening is something that we should not do. We should not also do competitive listening. So, what should we do is active listening. Okay, this is important. Okay, not competitive listening, not passive listening, but active listening. Did you get my point? Good. Okay, look at the slide. So, you learn, so these are the listening models, right? Competitive listening, passive listening and active listening. So, now that you understood in a way that, okay, we should not follow competitive or passive listening, but active listening. Okay. So, in order to develop our active listening skills, what are the things that we need to keep in mind? So, we have 3 A's. Okay. Look at the slide. 3 A's of, okay, let me, yeah. 3 A's of active listening. Okay. So, what are the 3 A's? Attitude, attention, adjustment. Okay. So, these 3 really matters when it comes to active listening. Your attitude, okay, towards the person who is speaking. So what sort of, whether you are having a positive attitude or not, okay. And then your attention and adjustment, how you are going to make adjustment to what the other person is speaking, okay. So that you understand, okay. Sometimes we have to make little adjustment, okay. So attitude, attention, adjustment in order to understand the speaker. So how you are taking the notes, so you might have to make certain adjustments, okay. Attitude, attention and adjustment, these are the 3 A's of active listening, okay. So the meaning, right? Attitude, that is your mental position or feeling of emotion. Attention, that is your mental focus or alertness. And then adjustment, so that is to be flexible enough to adjust your style of note taking to the speaker's topic and method of organization. Sometimes the way speaker is speaking, the way his speech is organized may not in a way relate with your way or your style of note taking. So there what you need to do is you need to make adjustment, okay, to fit in, okay, to serve the purpose. Clear? So you will remember, right, the 3 A's of active listening. What are the 3 A's of active listening? Yes? Good. Attitude. Yes. The second one, attention and adjustment. Okay. So now we have certain barriers to active listening. So even if we try to do active listening, sometimes there are certain things that may come as a barrier, okay. Like if you want to go this way, okay, all of a sudden you find that there's a big stone there stopping your way. That's a hurdle, right? Isn't it? So what would you do? Okay, there's a big stone or there's something on the road, right? So what you need to do? If possible, what you will do is you will remove the stone from the way so that you can go. You will not sit there like this. I cannot go, because just try to just visualize, try to imagine, isn't it? See, you want to go that side, okay, on the road you find a big stone, okay. So looking at the stone, okay, when you see the stone there, you can't just stop there. No, I can't move now. Why? Because there's a stone here. How can I go? Okay, so I'll stop here. Will you do that? Of course not, right? What you will do is you will either try to move the stone, or what you will do is you will take another direction. If you are not able to move the stone from there, okay, you will either step on the stone and jump, right, or you will take another direction, because your goal is to reach the other side, isn't it? The same is the case with active listening. Okay, when you are trying to do active listening, when you feel that there are certain barriers that is stopping you from doing active listening, you can't just stop and let the barriers overpower you. Will you do that? No, right? You would do that. So you will try to overcome those barriers, isn't it? So what is important is to understand, to know what are the barriers. See, if you have certain illness, you are not well, okay, your body is in a way is telling that I'm not feeling well, okay. So when you consult a doctor, the doctor will not he will not start giving you a medicine right away. What will the doctor do? He will first do some sort of tests in order to diagnose your problem, right? What are the cause, that is like what are the things that's making you, is it a sort of bacterial infection, viral infection or something, and then based on the diagnosis he gives you treatment, what sort of medicine you need to have, isn't it? So your teachers also do the same thing, right? Different students have different need, okay. So looking at students' need, the teacher tries to identify, okay, Tenzin is having problem in this, he needs to be taught this way. Dolma is having this problem, I need to change my way in order to help her, isn't it? So your teachers are also in a way like your doctors, okay, diagnosing in a way your problem, and then the remedial measures, okay, they have to adopt in order to help you. So for active listening, okay, not just your teachers, you need to help yourself. Okay, you need to identify. So in order to improve or develop, or you can say do away with the barriers, the first thing is you need to know what are the barriers. Okay, so we'll look at the slide. See, common barriers to active listening. The first one is environmental distractions. Sometimes, like when you want to listen to the person, whoever is speaking, and then you have some sort of noise coming out, right? So you get distracted. The noise may be coming from surrounding, or there may be some other person near you doing something, playing with something, or maybe speaking loud. So there might be so many distractions. So that are all environmental distractions. So how you are going to deal with that? Okay, not paying attention to the other noise, or you can just avoid those distractions. Okay, choosing some other space where there is no distraction. So there are a lot of things that you can do. Speaker distraction. Okay, this is also one common barrier. Okay, the environment is not in a way coming as a sort of hurdle or distraction, but the speaker himself or herself. Okay, you might remember sometimes, like when a person speaks, his you can say body movement, his gesture and expression is quite strange, that rather than focusing on what the person is speaking, you focus more on his movement, okay, his strange ways. So this may be one sort of distraction, speaker distraction. So there you need to be very careful, okay, not allowing yourself to be distracted rather than focusing on what the speaker has to say, not looking at the physical appearance of the speaker, okay, focusing on what important things he might say. Okay. Language barriers. Okay. So when you don't understand the language in which the other person is speaking, no matter how hard you try, it is very difficult for you to do active listening. Okay. Language barrier. So this may be, in a way, you can say difference in accent. An American, you can say person, man, speaking in, like you can say the American accent, and then too fast, and then it would be very difficult for a non-speaker of English like us. Okay, we are not native speaker of English, so it would be difficult for us to understand. We need to be very, very, you can say careful. Okay, right. So language barrier can be one, you can say, reason that would, or barrier that would stop you from doing active listening. So there, when you happen to see that you are not able to understand his accent, so what you can do is you can look at or try to grab more from his body language, expression, facial expression, gesture, because these are very important. Okay, yeah. So we will discuss about body language later on. Okay, so next, limited attention span. So this may be one barrier. Okay, so people have different attention span, isn't it? And even younger children, so their attention span is very, very short, isn't it? So attention span, having limited attention span may be one barrier, because you won't be able to focus or listen to the speaker for very long, right? So that can be one barrier. So how are you going to deal with that? Okay, you have to help yourself not getting distracted. Okay, you have to think that, oh, if I listen, so I may learn something new. Okay, if I don't pay attention, the other person might be hurt, and if I'm in his, you can say, place, I won't, you can say, feel happy if the other person, like the listener, behaves in this way. So you have to think in so many different ways, okay, and look for something positive in what the speaker is saying. Okay. Internal issues. So one common barrier could be internal issues, because you might be going through a lot of conflicts. You might have some sort of problems that is in a way occupying your mind, right? You are not able to do away with that. You keep thinking about the internal issues. You might be having severe headache, so you are not able to concentrate on the speaker. Or it may happen that you are feeling very hungry. Okay, so when the other person is speaking, the only thing you could do is think about food, right? Because you are feeling hungry, isn't it? Or it might happen that you just had a fight, or you can say a sort of dispute with your friend, and then you are not able to concentrate. So there can be different reasons. So these are all internal issues. So you need to learn how to keep those issues away when you are doing active listening. Your prime focus should be listening to the person who is speaking at present. Okay, so that can be one internal issue, can be one barrier. Shift response. Okay, so that is in a way happens when you are doing competitive listening. So the speaker, okay, or your as a listener also, sometimes speakers shift response. As a listener also you might, okay, rather than responding in a positive way, you start talking about something else, or you bring in some other issues, okay, or you're just focusing on something else. So these are all in a way, right, barrier. Okay, personal perspective, the way you look at that thing, whether you are interested in that or not, okay, or the whatever is being discussed. Okay, your own personal perspective about the speaker also comes as a barrier. Okay, if you are not in good terms with the speaker, you don't want to listen to the person. Okay, that can be one reason. Okay, so your personal perspective also matters. Boredom, when you are feeling bored, you don't want to listen. So the topic may be boring, okay, so you don't feel like paying attention. Okay, so you need to find. So there is, you can say, a lot of things the speaker also needs to do, okay, so that the listener will do active listening. Okay, so if the topic is very boring and the speaker is not able to grab the attention of the listener, so it's very hard. The communication won't be that proper. Okay, so boredom I told you. Okay, and then knowing the topic already. Okay, so sometimes when a person is speaking and you feel like, I know all this, right? So you have that feeling, why should I listen? I know all the things, right? Whatever is discussed, then you don't feel like listening. Okay, so this can be one barrier to active listening. Okay, there you need to in a way keep yourself in such a position that, okay, I may have heard this thing earlier, but who knows, the speaker might have something new to tell about. Right, whatever I know about the concept, I may learn something new. If you keep this attitude, okay, then it becomes easy for you to do active listening. Otherwise, you will block your mind, because you feel that, oh, what he is telling is something that I already know, so why should I listen? So don't keep this sort of attitude. Okay, and then impatience. Okay, sometimes it happens, so you just try to imagine yourself. When a person is speaking, the topic might be interesting, not boring. Okay, and what happens is you think about something that you have, you can say, experienced. The way the speaker is sharing, you might have come across such things, and you get impatient. You want to share your own experience. Okay, so you can't wait. Okay, so you try your way to interrupt, to jump in, because the thing that is in your heart, right, or in your mind becomes very strong. You become impatient. You can't wait for the person to finish, okay, whatever he is saying, because that eagerness to share your experience becomes so strong that you become impatient. And so what you do is you just jump in, you interrupt. You don't let the other person finish his words. Okay, so impatience is also one barrier. Okay, so you have to be very careful. What you need to do is, okay, if you have something interesting to share, wait for your turn. Okay, the speaker won't continue to speak throughout the day, isn't it? So he will stop at some point, right? When he finishes his or her talk, you will get opportunity to speak. Wait for your turn. Don't jump in. Okay, so if you jump in, if you become so impatient, it becomes a barrier. Okay. Okay, now how to do active listening? Pay attention. Okay, now having learned about the different barriers to active listening, now how you can improve your skill, okay, active listening skill. What you need to do is you have to pay attention, you have to focus fully on the speaker, you have to make effort to understand, okay, what the other person is saying. Okay, make eye contact. Okay, see, if the person is talking to you and you move or around, you look at something else, okay, the person will not feel connected. Okay, you are not responding. Okay, so making eye contact is very important. Show that you are listening. How would you show that you are listening? Your body language will tell that. Okay, your eye contact, your body language. Give response. How are you going to give response? For every little thing the speaker say, you don't have to say yes, 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 but in between you can nod, right? Nodding, restating what the other person had said in a way tells the other person, the speaker, that you are listening. Or you might ask questions in between. Okay, look, depending on when. Okay, you need to find out when. Okay, so this is how the speaker would feel that, okay, you are not doing passive listening but active listening. You are involved in it. You are involved in the conversation as a listener. Don't interrupt or jump in. Okay, let the other person finish. Ignore other factors, like if there are environmental distractions, if you hear something, if you happen to see someone else moving around. Okay, so ignore all the other factors or the internal issues as well. Okay, so you can use small utterances. Okay, small utterances like yeah. So if the person is speaking, really, so if you want to say, you can say ask questions. Okay, so this is how the other person will feel that, oh, you are listening to him or her. Okay, rather than just listening like this, not giving any sort of response, a stone figure standing in front of the speaker, it's not going to work. Okay. Okay, what else? So ask for clarification when needed. So sometimes it may happen that you don't understand what the speaker is saying. Okay, at that point of time, you cannot pretend that you understand. Okay, so what you need to do is, pardon me, you can ask, right? Pardon me, or can you repeat? Because you are clarifying in a way, you are asking. Then the speaker will understand that, oh, what I just told, he didn't understand. So he might frame the sentence in some another way, right? Some other way. So asking for clarification is also important, rather than pretending that you are listening and that you have understood everything. Okay, that's not going to work. Observe speaker's body language. Put yourself, okay, that is the very important thing, right? Put yourself in other person's shoe. Imagine if you are the speaker, okay, and the other person is the listener, okay, and if you don't respond properly, how would you feel? Whether you will feel hurt or not, okay? So you try to put yourself in the other person's shoe, and then you will understand. So these are the skills. I hope that you will just remember. But before I end, I just want to give you a little demo, you can say, on how to do, or you can say the 3 models of listening. And for that, I invite Gideon Stargela to accompany me here so that we can just in a way demonstrate the listening models. Okay, and just in a way you will get to know how it feels like, okay, when you are doing the sort of listening. So Gideon Stargela, please.
Good morning, Gela. Oh, I need a favor from you, actually. So, you know, your daughter is studying in class 9, and my daughter is also studying in class 9, you know. So you already know that I had to go to Delhi in the month of March. I also took my daughter there. Because of that, she missed so many classes in the month of March. Now, as far as April and other months are concerned, you know, she can already, what should I say, attend the classes, but she missed all entire class in the month of March. So she was very worried. And so what I want to say is, I want your daughter to lend her book to my daughter. I need your daughter's notebook so that she can just cover up all the lessons she missed.
Wow. Okay. So what did you notice? The final comment that I make, okay, was it relevant? See, Gela was sharing his problem, right? And where my attention was. I was fiddling with my mobile phone, right? I was paying attention somewhere else, not listening to. And that, so finally, when I felt like, oh, Gidin Hagila is telling something to me, just in order to pretend that I have been listening. What did I say? Wow, that was not at all appropriate, isn't it? He was sharing his problem, isn't it? So this is in a way kind of not at all listening, not caring for what the other person is speaking. Okay, right. Now another set.
Good morning, Gedangela.
Good morning.
Gela, I need a favor from you. So you know that I went to Delhi in the month of March. My daughter was also with me. So because of that, she missed so many classes in the month of March, although it was not very long. Now, recently, the teacher said that she was going to give exam on all the lessons that were taught in the month of March. So, you know, your daughter...
Yeah, my daughter also went through such a situation. So, how was the weather like when you went to Delhi, right? My daughter also faced this problem. I have been thinking how to solve this problem, right? The classes and the exam, and this is all giving a lot of, you can say, pressure as a parent. So, I don't really understand how to deal with such things. Okay. So, what did I do? Gela wanted to share his own problem with me, and what I did, rather than listening to his problem and giving some sort of response and feedback, I interrupted, I jumped in, and I started bringing my own issues. And this is competitive listening, right? And this is not something we should do. Okay, so Gela, I want to call you again. I'm sorry.
Good morning, Gedangela.
Good morning.
Gela, I need a favor from you. You know, I went to Delhi in the month of March. My daughter was also there. So because of that, she missed the entire class in the month of March. Now the teacher was saying she was going to give tests on all the lessons she covered in the month of March. Now my daughter was not there. So you know, your daughter is in class 9, same class, and I need your daughter's notebook so that my daughter can somehow cover up all these things. Can you? No,
okay. So this is the kind of response you would get, right? Gidinsa Thagila was in a way, what? Did you see Gela's expression? He wanted a favor from me, right? And I was like, earlier he might have felt that I'm listening to him, right? But then finally when he's asking question, the way I was responding is like a stone face, right? No expression, no gesture, just listening. Okay, passive listening. I'm not involved. I'm just doing listening. Okay, so that's why that might happen, and that's a cause of, you can say, a reason behind communication gap, right? So Gela is in a way perplexed. Did you see Gela's expression? He was doing like this. Because he wanted something from me, right? He wanted a favor from me, and how did I respond? It's very clear, isn't it? Okay, so the last part of our demo.
Good morning, Gedangela.
Good morning, Gela.
Gela, I need a favor from you.
Of course, yeah, Gela, please tell me.
You know that I had to go to Delhi in the month of March. My daughter was also with me.
Oh.
So now, what should I say? She missed all the entire class in the month of March.
Oh dear.
So suddenly, her teacher was, what should I say, telling her that she was going to, what should I say, give tests on the entire lesson covered in the month of March.
Oh my God, right. How is she going to deal with that?
Yeah, that's a problem. So you see, Gela, your daughter is also in class 9.
Yeah.
And my daughter is also reading in class 9. So how about your daughter just lending her notes to my daughter?
Sure. If that helps, I would love to do that.
Oh,
no need to worry.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Okay, thank you.
So, what did you see finally? So, not just I listened to Gela, you might have seen my body language, the way I was looking at Gela, listening to him, and then the small utterances, yeah, right? And then asking question in order to show that yes, I'm listening. I am just in a way showing my concern as well, because Gela had a genuine problem, right? So this is how active listening looks like, sounds like, feels like. Okay, so if you have to look at a sort of hot strategy, okay, higher order thinking skill. So what you can do is, so if you remember in one of my sessions earlier, okay, do you remember in one of my previous session I discussed with you the Y chart? This is one of my favorite hot strategy, high order thinking skill strategy. So in the Y chart, if you remember when we were doing, I think that was on process of writing, the application of writing process, if I'm not wrong. Okay, what we did is, okay, on a piece of paper or a chart you have to draw a big Y, okay, and this is a sort of mini assignment for you. Okay, what you are going to do is, in the Y chart, what you will do is, okay, this is, the topic is active listening. Okay, the topic is active listening. So in the Y chart, okay, okay, so assume that this is hand. Okay, so how active listening looks like. Okay, active listening looks like, you think about different points, different ideas that come to your mind. Active listening looks like, sounds like, and feels like. Okay, will you remember this? Okay, so in a Y chart you just think of all the points that you could, okay, active listening looks like. So keeping the kind of demonstration we did here. Okay, Gedin Saigela and I just presented a short demonstration on the different models of listening. Okay, so looks like, sounds like, feels like. So how do you feel? Okay, or how active listening feels like in a way. Okay, think about all the points that comes to your mind. Okay, looks like, sounds like. Okay, this is just to, in a way, help you brainstorm, think about all the things so that you remember what are the things you need to remember when it comes to active listening. And I'm sure now onwards you will definitely make an attempt to do active listening. Okay, thank you so much. So Gedin Stagela will take the next session, and so see you in the third session. Okay, goodbye.